no longer be accepted collateral damage. Our communities no longer accepted collateral damage for shareholders' profitability. Okay, I'm going to be running before the Senate and the Assembly next week. However,
is that May 2nd?
yes.
There's a big, you should know, everybody should know about this. There's a big rally in Albany on May, I'll be there on May 2nd. I think Pete Seeger's going to be there. It might be the first time that I've ever been in the same place as Pete Seeger, and we might play bingo. Reason enough to go. But that's happening May 2nd in Albany, Monday morning at like 11 o'clock.
Right. Well, it depends on what time your appointment is. My question is, how have you been sounding out what the politicians, what the feel is yet? I mean, are they starting to listen? Because I know that
Well,
GNO companies are lobbying really hard, but so are we as the grassroots.
you know, New York has been doing a remarkable job of being very active and aggressive out in front of this. I mean, as citizens. The only reason why we don't have drilling all over the place right now is because citizens were like, wait a minute, you have to listen to this, you have to listen to us. Also, Mayor Bloomberg, you know, in New York City, actually did a cumulative impact report that showed that it was a catastrophic risk to New York City's watershed, and New York City actually chimed in and said, you can't do this, you know. Now, but it had a big effect on the rest of the state, I think. There are also, you know, is there a grassroots organization in the House tonight who's working on this? Okay, yes. Who are local? Yes. Okay, good. Well, at the end of the night, at the end of the Q&A, please just come down here. If you want to join the efforts of these people and go to Albany and figure out what all of this means, that's what's necessary to happen. That's what I believe. Come down here and sign up and get involved. Because if you don't, what you're basically doing is you're leaving this in the hands of the oil and gas industry to determine how it works. And the probability of you ending up in a situation like the one in the film is, in my understanding, is very, very high if you leave it up to them to do it. You know. So what I know is that politicians respond to public pressure. And in New York State, we stand a better chance of stopping this anywhere. I mean, in Pennsylvania, the call is stop the drilling now. This is out of control. This is out of hand. There's nothing to suggest right now in the law that New York State would be handled any differently, because there are no laws different than there are in Pennsylvania, other than the fact that in Pennsylvania we don't have forced pooling, and you guys do. There are various things that are subtly different, but there's no reason to imagine that it won't happen in New York the same way as it happened everywhere else. So you have to get out in front of this and become a part of the conversation, or else you're basically turning over the fate of where you live to the gas industry. And like I said, they're not here to create a contract with the community that makes everybody happy. They're here to make a profit. The profit is predicated on those 4 exemptions, in my view. The Safe Drinking Water Act exemption allows them to pump these toxins under the ground without reporting them, which means if one of those chemicals turns up in your water, the gas company can say, well, that wasn't us. Somebody else put that there. Because there was no record, and this has happened time and time again. In Pavilion, Wyoming, those cowboys, Louis Meeks, John Fenton, those amazing guys, the EPA Region 8 has been out in Pavilion for 2 years. And they've been investigating and investigating, and they found fluids, chemicals associated with hydraulic fracturing in 20 out of 44 water wells in that town. 20 out of 44. The gas company, Canada, is saying, those aren't our chemicals. Those are somebody must be a backyard mechanic. You know? And even though you can see, you can trace the gas, you can do all sorts of things, and EPA is continuing to investigate. But that is exactly what they're saying. That is exactly what the Safe Drinking Water Act gets them out of. In PA, in Dimick, where those 18 families were contaminated by the gas migrating that they proved was thermogenic gas, it came directly from the source, and PADEP came in and said, you guys did this. Cabot Oil, and you know what the price tag was for that? They were going to run them a municipal water line from the nearest municipal source, 7 miles away in Montrose. 18 families, the cost of the pipeline, $12 million. Now, if this was factored into the price of gas, and they had to pay for this all over the place, you know, because of the chemicals that moved into somebody's water and they had to report it, then this would be a prohibitively expensive form of drilling. Because a compromised water system is so much more expensive than the value of this gas. And what happens in these areas is basically every other value of that area is reduced to the price of the gas. Because the people across the street from me have leased, right across the street, I can't sell my house. I don't want to, but if I wanted to, I couldn't get a loan from the bank. Because I'm now adjacent to an industrial zone, and I'm going to be refused financing. And that's happening all over Pennsylvania.
It's in New York State as well.
New York State too.
There's 8 banks.
So what does this mean? This means that the gas industry, by leasing, has drained all the real estate value out of the entire state. It's now the price of the gas. Plus, in New York State, the top 2 industries, as you may know, are tourism and agriculture. Tourism isn't, nobody wants to go be a tourist in a gas field. It's just not one of those, I mean, maybe some extreme tourists, people who like to, you know, I don't know, bungee jump off of, like, you know, a gas well. Maybe they're very interested, people who like gargle with toxic chemicals and see if they can survive. But there are very few tourists who do that kind of thing, I hope. And agriculture. So organic certification, all these kinds of things. You're living in a chemical-laden environment. You've probably heard over and over again. New York is the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. You've heard this, right? Okay. Now, just in your mind, or go online, picture what the Saudi Arabian oil fields look like. I mean, it makes it sound really good, right? We sound like we're gonna make more money than those Saudi guys who have indoor golf courses. But think about what it's like to live in the Saudi Arabian oil fields. Nobody lives there. It's in the middle of the desert. You know, for good reason. But also, just take a picture of that. It looks like these things, and worse, you know. What we're talking about here is a massive industrialization project. And they're very good at putting out these slogans without allowing people to connect the dots. All right, what was the next question? So yes, the real answer to your question is show up in Albany because nobody knows. We've got to be more powerful than they are.